everybody. It is Thursday at noon, and that means that you are once again inside of the Greene House Effect. I am your host, Hayden Greene, and we are coming to you, as always, from the depths of the greenhouse. You get it? The Greene House Effect, or the greenhouse. Um, so, we got a lot to talk about. Actually, we don't. We don't have a lot to talk about. It's been a very interesting week. Um, I, I I think that we are turning the corner on Old Man Winter. I and as I say that, I immediately regret it because I know that means that behind me now there's going to be snow. We've had too much snow this winter. It's been a rough winter. It's been a very rough winter. I'd rather be here. For those of you who can't see, I'll turn away a little bit. This is one of my favorite places that we've ever visited. That is a beach in Capri, on the island of Capri. It's called Faro. The beach is called Faro. So got a new picture up because the picture that is normally there is sitting in a gallery exhibit at Manhattan College. So, if you want to see the original piece that was up there all the time, the one that's normally sitting behind me, you can go to Manhattan College and go see the Son of Man picture. The picture is called Son of Man. It's a recreation of the Magritte work, Son of Man. And so I redid all of Magritte's work. Well, not all of it. Magritte has a bunch of stuff. It take me a long time. Maybe that's my life's goal, to redo all of Magritte's stuff. Um, but I took some of Magritte's stuff and redid it, and it's sitting at an exhibit at Manhattan College right now. So you should go check that out. You should go up to Manhattan College, venture out into the great unknown, and go up and go see the exhibit at Manhattan College. But right now you're here with me, and I appreciate that. And we're gonna get started. We're gonna talk a little bit about Cuomo. We're gonna talk a little bit about the art of telling a story. Um, I'm just now listening to some information about the South Dakota Attorney General who's gotten himself into some really serious hot water. And then Tiger Woods. We'll probably get around to Tiger Woods, or we might start with Tiger Woods and work our way backwards. But as is always, drop comments. Play along, have some fun with me. I'm here for you, and hopefully we can get some good information, and you'll have a good time for the time that we've been out here. I'm wearing my favorite Freddy Krueger sweater today. I used to my students used to make fun of me anytime that I pulled up my this sweater because it's so Freddy Kruegerish. But hey, it is what it is. So again, like I said, drop me a comment if you're listening, and we'll get started. So first things first, we have to talk about Puppy. I know. Every time we come on here, we end up talking about Puppy, and I have to tell you that the cat is crazy. I've gotten to the point where I recognize, and y'all need to recognize that I recognize that the cat is crazy. Cat's a little crazy. So the latest Puppy thing is that Puppy wants you to pet her. Like, I'll go over and pet her, or she'll come over to where I'm sitting, and she'll come over and she'll do this thing where she nudges you in order to pet her, and then you'll pet her, and then she'll go, yeah, no, not there. I don't want you to pet me there. I want you to pet me in the particular place that I'm asking you to pet me. And it's not always the place that I'm petting her, right? So like, we have this thing going back and forth with Puppy, where she'll come over and like, hey, dude, human, come pet me. And then you go over and pet her, and then she'll go, no, that's incorrect. That is incorrect in the way that you are petting me. I need you to pet me in a different way, which is typical of the way that men and women interact. It's like, hey, human, male human, I need you to interact with me. Male human comes over and interacts with Female human. No, male human. That is incorrect. I don't need you to interact with me, but you just asked me to interact with you in this particular way. Anyway, so puppy's crazy. The cat is crazy. So I'm just gonna leave it there. Anyway, so down to brass tacks. So Mr. Cuomo, Governor Cuomo, is currently embroiled in a very interesting scandal. Um, and the reason that it is interesting is that during the time of the pandemic, everybody was giving him credit for the way that he was disseminating information and the way that he was really, dealing with everything that was happening in New York City. And so, well, New York State in the whole, but like primarily what was happening in New York City. And he even won an Emmy. I didn't even know this. He won an Emmy for his newscast. Who knew you could win Emmys for doing your job? Anyway, so who knew you could win Emmys for that? But anyway, he wins an Emmy for putting out these press conferences. And so, to give you a little bit of background, in New York, the nursing homes were relegated to or mandated to take in any older folks who also had COVID. So, in other words, if I'm older and I'm supposed to be in a particular nursing home, like I'm a nursing home resident, and I go to the hospital and they discover that I have COVID, I have to come back, right? They can't refuse me. That was the mandate that happened. Before that even happened, Cuomo was given what are called emergency rights. Emergency rights. Didn't know that. Sorry. I did not know that newscasters won Emmys. Well, actually, I did know that. Actually, what I knew was that newscast, the actual program, won that, but I didn't realize that. Anyway, that's besides the point. But I didn't know it. So anyway, before all of this happened, Cuomo was given emergency rights, which means that he was able to, without having to go past Congress or not Congress, any of the New York State legislators, he could enact certain things, right? And so he makes this edict that nursing homes have to take in COVID patients. And what he later clarifies is that he said that only the nursing homes that were able to care for these people in a safe way should be taking in COVID patients. Well, that's all now coming back and haunting him because recently they had said that, well, his press secretary or one of his secretaries said that we didn't tell you about the numbers in nursing homes because we knew that administration, i.e. the Trump administration, would throw it back in their face. And so, whereas this is a whole office that prided itself on clarity and transparency, it is now coming out that they withheld the information. And they're coming for him. They are coming for him. So, right now, there are calls for him to resign. There are calls for him to be impeached. There is an act. Letitia James was one of the first people that showed that the numbers that were reported at nursing homes were wildly different than what the numbers that the deaths that actually happened. And so Cuomo gets on there, and it was like, look, this is ticky tack, right? I'm using that word, but that's pretty much how he describes it. It's like whether they died in a nursing home or they died in a hospital, but they were a nursing home resident, doesn't matter. People were dying. We didn't underreport the numbers. The numbers of who died and who didn't die were all properly reported. But because I didn't report that somebody who got sick in a nursing home and then was transported to a hospital and died there, I didn't report that as a nursing home death is now somehow supposed to be something that I should go to jail for. I should lose my job for. Um, I am two minds about this, right? Because I'm one of those people who are, look, if you said that this is what you were going to do, I'm going to hold you responsible for that, right? I didn't make you get up there and say, I'm going to be the transparency guy. I didn't make you get up there and say that I'm going to give you all, you're going to have to give all of the information in a time. You said that this is the way that you're going to deal with this. You set up press conferences and you set up a regular schedule of dissemination of information. That was you. Nobody made you do that. We were thankful for it. It made sense that this is the way that it should be done, primarily when we were getting zero information from the head of the country, right? So I get it. But that said, if that's the way that you are going to, if that's the way that you want to run your program, if that's the way that you want to run your office, and you're saying that that is exactly what we should expect from you, when we turn around and expect that all of the information that we should get all of the information, not just the information that you deem that is palatable for the public, then you got to take your lumps. I think that that's really where this I fall on this. So whether or not he should have listed those deaths as nursing home deaths or not, I I I don't think that in the midst of what we were going through in New York City, I don't think that that's really important. But if you now say that we didn't tell you the full story because it would make us look bad, or we didn't feel like we wanted to get into a political fight with, the Trump administration, then that's on you, right? Primarily because you set out and said that you wanted to be the transparency guy. And so if you're going to be transparency guy, then guess what you have to be? Transparent, right? You can't hold back on certain things. And so that's the way I fall on that. So since that time, apparently Cuomo and his office have gone full goon squad, right? They have reached out to people and be like, yo, don't say nothing. Don't. You know what the deal is. Don't say nothing. And so his opponents, and not necessarily his opponents from the other side of the aisle, but his opponents are like lining up to be like, yeah, no, he threatened me. There's one state legislator who came out with a full, like, he called me, he threatened my job, he told me that he would kill my fish, he said that he would spit in my food, and then after that he sent somebody over here to kick me in the shin. I mean, clearly being hyperbolic, but he basically said that Cuomo threatened him, and here's the bad part about it, right? It's not completely unbelievable, right? So when you stop and you think about who Andrew Cuomo is and how he's dealt with the media and how you've seen him and his brother interact with the world, you're like, yeah, I could see that phone call happening. I could absolutely see Cuomo calling somebody up is like, yo, I'll ruin your whole career. I'm not even mess with you. You either come out with this statement in support of me, or I'll make it so that you never see the light of day ever again. And not light of day as in I'll put you 6 foot under. But if that's what it takes, then that's maybe what I'll do. So, like, you can see it. Like, it's not one of those things where somebody came out and said David Dinkins, rest his soul, came out and threatened me of my job. You're like, David Dinkins? Really? I don't think David Dinkins threatened you. I think you're making that up. Now, Andrew Cuomo, I can see it happening. So they're coming for him, and they're making it so that his all of the accolades that he got prior to this are starting to be eroded. He was steadily coming across as America's governor. And every time you throw that moniker on somebody. So the last person to get America's Anything was a certain mayor of New York City who with the last name that starts with G, and we all see what rabbit hole he ended up going down. So anyway, so he's going through it right now. The latest is that there is somebody who has come out and said that he sexually harassed them. It and but and this came out over the summer. And he came out with a full statement. It's like, I respect a woman's right to be able to stand in front of their accuser and make the claims and be believed, and said all the right things. And then he said, but I don't believe her. It's not true. And then it went away. Well, not far away, because now it's back again. And now we're hearing that she's put out a full statement and is asking that she be taken seriously. She says that in a elevator, he leaned in to try to kiss her. And then on a staff retreat with everybody, at a certain point in time, he offered to play, he wanted to play strip poker with her. I didn't know people still did that. I thought that was like that was the high school move back when I was in high school. And so that was the 80s, right? So and the early 80s of that, right? So that was the old move. It was like, let's why don't you come over and play strip poker, and see where things end up. That was the machismo move back in those days. I'm like, I didn't know people still did that. Apparently they do. Cuomo's definitely old school. So here's the other piece of that. It's totally believable. It is like when you hear this stuff, again, you don't go, man, I don't know, this doesn't sound like him. It's like, doesn't sound like something he would do. Sounds like exactly the stuff that Cuomo would do. Like, I have no, if this comes out to be true and this plays out to be true, I'm not going to be shocked. I'm not going to be like, whoa, this is totally out of character for somebody like, no, it's completely within his wheelhouse. I'm not going to be shocked by that at all. So that's the crazy part of it. And so hopefully we get all this settled out, because I think that the last thing that we need in New York, that we need in New York is to be embroiled in a whole bunch of back and forth, and it's time to heal. And I know that's the last thing that everybody wants to say. I was like, this whole healing thing, but it's time to get back to business, right? Like, we're finally rolling out the vaccine. We're finally getting kids back to school. Middle schoolers start again this week, which means that we're back to traffic in New York City. Oy. All right. But it's time to get back to some level of normalcy. And if that's being impeded by political wrangling, and again, do not hear me say that this woman's accusation is a political thing. Although she is running for political office. That's neither here nor there. But my point is that I don't need us to get back into this whole political wrangling thing. I think the city needs to get back up on its feet. There are people who are actually hurting, and I would hate to see that the efforts to get us back to where we need to be get stymied by people going back and forth and not really thinking about the New York City residents first and foremost, as opposed to everything else. Anthony says that there is a New York City variant of the coronavirus. I assume that's what he's meaning. Well, the good thing is that I've been listening to this podcast called In Your Genes, and I forget what the name of the host is, and it's a really interesting podcast because it is a black woman who is a neuroscientist or an immunologist or something along those lines, and she talks about all of this stuff, like your homegirl from around the corner. It's a really interesting way to hear science delivered to you. there is like her opening salvo starts with a bop song talking about f Corona, and it's like it sounds like a Big Frida produced it, but like F a Corona, and it's like that kind of like that kind of sentiment, and it's a real like I said, it's a really interesting way to hear about science or hear science given delivered to you. So, but anyway, I say all of that to say that she did a really good job of breaking down what an RNA virus vaccine does. And so, what it does is that it doesn't come in and introduce the virus to you the way our traditional virus vaccines have done. What it does is says to your immune system, here is what a coronavirus looks like. All right, it says it has got the spikes, it's got this round thing, and you should look out for it, right? And what it then does is what your body then does is that it says, "Oh, wait, no, I've seen some of these guys around here. Thanks for the heads up. I'm gonna go ahead and go get that." And so, the analogy was that your house is your body is a house. Your immune system is a dog or something like that, or an alarm system, and your virus is an intruder. And this vaccine, the rDNA vaccine, simply is the phone call to your house to tell your security system, here's what you should look out for. It's coming towards you, or it may already be in the house, and make sure that you are prepared for that. So the reason I bring all of that up is that apparently these vaccines are prepared for the strains that are coming along because they have not mutated. Hi, mom. Mom is like saying hi, so gotta say hi to mom. Hi, mom. Hi, and my mom is fully vaccinated. Whoop whoop. Got my mom's like she got the superpowers, so I'm very happy about that. Anyway, so apparently these viruses have not mutated to a point where they don't still look like the originals. So the rDNA vaccines are still able to send the signals to the body to make sure that it says you should still look out. I know it looks a little bit different. I know I told you to look out for an intruder that had a brown cap, but this guy has a yellow cap. It's the same cap. You should look out for that and make sure that you get rid of it, right? So that's the only thing that I'm, hopeful for moving forward. So we'll see how this plays out. And mom says she is vaccinated and she is not a zombie, which is good because, yeah, I don't need my mom to be a zombie. That would be bad, right? Because you have to put mom down. I don't want to put my mom down. I like my mom. I like you, mom. I like you a lot. Anyway, quick pivot or big pivot or whatever pivot. So, Tiger Woods got into another car crash. And so I'm going to say something flippant, and it's not because I'm a jerk, although I am a jerk. But this thing that I'm saying isn't the thing that should make me into a jerk. But yes, you get the point. Tiger Woods should have a permanent driver. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Somebody should be driving Tiger Woods everywhere that he goes. Tiger Woods should not be allowed to get behind the wheel of a car ever again. It's not his ministry, right? It's not his. It's not the thing that he should be doing. So we're talking about a man who has more money than he knows what to do with. We are talking to a man who is probably beloved by millions of people. I think that he should not have a problem finding somebody to drive him around, right? Tiger Woods should not be allowed to drive another car ever again. For those of you who do not know what is happening, Tiger Woods flipped his SUV off the side of a road, headed to I think he was doing a photo shoot for a presser or something like that. Anyway, so he flips his car and he has multiple fractures in both his legs. His ankle is messed up. Um, I think I read something or listened to something that said that the bone was poked through his bone, his thing, and I'm like, the last time we heard about Tiger Woods in an accident, we found out that he was cheating on his wife, and then he was pulled over for drunk driving a couple of years after that, and now he's flipping cars over. Don't drive. And Anthony says he might have a permanent driver now. Now he's supposedly gonna be on the road to recovery. They got his they got the metal rod in the tibia, and they've fixed up, so, and they are monitoring the muscles to make sure that they don't have any kind of infection. And so the prognosis right now, and I could change in a day, the prognosis right now is that he will make a close to a full recovery, right? So, but like, seriously, like, somebody get Tiger Woods a driver. This is, I mean, the universe ain't. There's only gotta, yeah. No, he's not gonna be Charles Xavier in a wheelchair. That's rude, Anthony. That's rude. But here's the thing, though, and I think Max Kellerman was the person that said this. Is like, immediately people are like, well, what does this mean for his golf career? Is he gonna come back? And like, he was trying to come back from a back injury, right? So Tiger Woods is frail. Tiger Woods has surgery all the time. He is not a durable human being. I think that the right way to look at this is to just worry about him getting back and walking, right? And being able to perambulate on his own, without putting on the added pressure of like, well, is he going to come back to the sport? Like, he was on the back end of his career anyway, and so yes, he was still chasing the record books and stuff like that. But like, right now is not the time to be wondering whether or not he's going to come back to the sport. I just want to make sure. My hope and my prayer for him is that he is able to walk again. He's been through a lot. Some of it is self-imposed, but he has been through a lot. So I wish him well, and I hope that he recovers and he's able to get back to full health. Speaking of people in car accidents, apparently the Attorney General of South Dakota also don't know how to drive, or was under the influence, or is just really a bad guy. Because he hit somebody in the middle of the night, the fact is he hit somebody. And then he said that, I thought I hit a deer. And the only time that it came out that he was lying was because they found the broken glasses from the guy that he hit in his car. I'm going to just say this right now. There are criminals, and then there are dumb people. And then there are dumb criminals. And he is got to be a dumb criminal. He is like the exemplification of dumb criminal. First of all, he went back to the scene of the accident the next day to see if he had actually hit a deer or something else. So you hit a deer. Let me tell you something. If I hit a deer and I manage to survive the deer, and I'm like, oh, okay, I hit a deer, I'm not going back to see if I hit a deer unless I'm going to strap that deer to the car so that I could have venison the next day. I'm not going back for the deer. No, I'm not. Right? So he knew what he did. And then somehow, and Caitlin says he was totally drunk. There is no way that he was anything else but drunk, right? Like, he goes back and he has the presence of mind, or the lack of presence of mind, and the guy's glasses are in his car. And you have to see his news. You have to see his debriefing where they have him in Manila. They're talking about he's totally remorseful and stuff like that. And then like, and at the moment where he's talking about whether or not he hit a deer, because in his mind it was a deer, he's like, well, I hit the, and then he stops himself. I was like, the incident happened. I was like, oh, here go the lawyer speak, right? Just like you can't admit that you hit a person, right? You have to say the incident happened. So the incident happened, and but so now everybody's asking for him to resign because first of all, you hit somebody and you killed them. Second of all, you lied about it and said you hit a deer. Third of all, you went back to the scene, and now you want us to believe, you want us to have confidence in you to do your job as the attorney general? No. And so the governor is calling for him to resign. Everybody's calling for him to resign. Their impeachment proceedings already in place. But he issues a statement that says he doesn't think that any of this impedes his ability to do his job. You mean the lying? That doesn't impede you from doing your job? Do you mean the manslaughter? That doesn't impede you doing your job? What does he think his job is? It's like, what? Let's start. What does he think? What is your job? Your job is to be the conscience of the state. Your job is to adjudicate over people who have done wrong. You did wrong, and you lied about it. What does he think his job is? Anyway, so I'm always really curious about these people who are like, oh, well, you know, I made a mistake and I shouldn't lose my job. Do you know the silliness that average people lose their jobs for? Like, I know people that lost their job because they couldn't. For instance, there is a case of a woman who left their kid, and again, I am not saying that this is what she should have done, but I'm gonna tell you that this is what happened, and it happens all the time. There's a woman who lost her job because in a pizza store because she had no child care. And what did she do? She left her kids in the car outside of the pizza shop. And it's not like it was like rolled up. She rolled up the windows and the kid didn't have air. Or like he left the kids in the car outside of the pizza shop because she had to go to work. That person lost their job. Was it a great decision? No. Was it a decision born out of necessity? Yes. But you don't think you should lose your job because you killed somebody and then lied about it? The hubris. The hubris. It's amazing. Speaking of hubris, which is the last time that I used this word, was to deal with the Texas thing. I'm happy to see that people in Texas are getting their stuff back, getting their power back and water back. Wait a minute. I just realized we have not talked about Fled Cruz. Oh my God. So the Ted Cruz thing happened after the last time that we were on. I just realized that we have not talked about Fled Cruz. Oh, this is rich. This is rich. Oh, Jesus. Man, I should have let off the show with this. That's my fault. I did my show notes badly. I apologize. We should have talked about that at the top of the show. So, in case you did not know, Ted Cruz decided that the best thing to do during the time that his entire state was dealing with power outages and a freak storm, that the best thing to do was to pick up his kids and whole family and go to Cancun. You know what? So you can't make some stuff up. Like, you know, that's like sitcom stuff, right? Where it's like the person who's in charge of the state, the senator for the state, decides to leave the state during one of the worst disasters that the state has seen in years, decades even. So they laid into him. People took pictures of him on the plane, at the airport, and so they laid into him. And somebody got in his ear and they were like, "Son, you need to go back. You need to come back home." So Ted Cruz comes back home. And what does he say? He says, "Well, my kids wanted to get away from the cold, and since they had off from school, so they decided that, you know, I decided that I was going to take them down to Cancun, and I'm coming right back." Right? No, I'm talking about it right now. Right? So, Vinny, I'm talking to, yes, you got on late, but right on time. Right? So, he threw his kids under the bus. Right? Oh, God. Let me tell you something. If I ever threw my kids under the bus, they would stab me in my sleep because my kids don't play that. But he immediately said, "Yo, it's these kids' fault. They wanted to get out. So, like, I was planning to be a good day. I was planning to be a good dad. So I took them down to Cancun. First of all, the privilege. Oh my God. Well, let's get out of Texas and go to someplace warmer. So let's go to Cancun during a pandemic. He picks up and goes to Cancun. Right? He thought that was a good idea. And then he throws his kid under the bus. And then it comes out, first of all, so he wanted to, and he was pretending like all he was doing was taking his kids and he wasn't going to stay. Dude, you had a whole bag packed. You had a week-long bag packed. You wasn't going for one day. You was going to stay. You was going to go vacation while the rest of your state was struggling with water and struggling with all of the things that they were dealing with no power, no water, and people dying in your state. You wasn't going for one day, and even if you was, you don't have somebody else that could take your kids, right? Your wife could have gone without you. Your wife is not a state senator. You are, right? That's your job. So we're going back to, I wonder if he knows what his job actually is, right? So that's your job. Your wife could have taken him. So here's the next thing, right? First of all, y'all are rich. So you could have had a whole security detail take your kids down there, right? So that's number one. Number two, we find out that his wife was out there texting everybody. It's like, "Hey, you want to go down to Cancun for a little bit and hang out?" And he was texting everybody. And her friends ain't loyal. Her friends ain't loyal at all. They sold her down the river. And they didn't call Fox. They didn't call TMZ. They called CNN. The one place that hates Ted Cruz more than his children right now is CNN. And that's the people that they called. They called CNN and sent them all the text messages like, "Yeah, look, They was over here trying to recruit people to go with them on this trip to Cancun." Like, my God Almighty, it is amazing to me that there was a process in his mind that came up with the end result that this was going to be a good idea. Eventually, he comes up and says, "Oh no, this was a bad idea to do that, and I see that now." Now you see that. You didn't see that when you were booking a ticket to go to Cancun? The greatest thing that ever came out was that Ted Cruz setting first everywhere. He was the first Latino to leave from Texas to go to Mexico to avoid ICE. That will go down in history as the greatest description of a political scandal. Like that, you can't say it any better than that. Oh my God, it was amazing. His job is to cash in government checks and blame poor people for all the country's problems. So true. He doesn't see himself as a state representative. That's the problem. That's right. He didn't know what his job is, right? He didn't just leave the state. He crossed the border. He did cross the border. Exactly. AOC rose money. AOC raised so much money for Texas while Freddie Cruz was giving out water bottles. His social welfare checks provided by the taxpayer. All these things are absolutely true. And AOC, I live for her petty. I live for her petty. Like, She mobilizes like, wait a minute. Ted Cruz, the person that voted against Katrina relief for New York City, left when his state needed help. Let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to raise $3 million. $3 million for Texas, and boarded a plane with tons of water for the state. Here in Beto O'Rourke, state like single-handedly like distributed water all over the state. I'm being hyperbolic. She didn't go all over the state, but you get the point, right? So like that, I mean, it's a great thing, right? But that is literally the highest level of petty, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It was, oh my God, this is, and so one of the things that we talk about on this podcast all the time is the fleeting memory of the American public. And I hope to God that we don't forget this. This is too much. I hope to God we don't forget this. I have heard, and people have talked about this all the time, where Ted Cruz is hated by everybody in the Senate. Like, people, and this is not just like the Democrats hating a Republican. His Republican senators also have described him as the devil incarnate, right? So like, I don't know how he wakes up when he realizes nobody respects him. Nobody, none. The best meme was somebody's tweet where they said I accused Ted Cruz of only caring about Texas when he voted against Sandy relief. I was wrong. Yeah, Caitlin, thanks for that. And so I was flabbergasted that he, and again, it goes back to the question that I ask all the time when we talked about Kanye, when we talked about Trump, when we talked about all of these people. Who are his people? Where are his people? They don't have people? You gotta have somebody who is somebody in your group. You have to have somebody in your group always, whether you are rich or you got $3 in the bank, that will look at you and go, that's a bad idea. That's a bad idea. You gotta have those people. And clearly, Freddy Cruz does not have does not have those people. You can't have those people. Anyway, so I'm glad I remembered that, because next week it'll be stale, right? We're not going to talk. Something else will happen and we have to talk about that. But anyway, I'm happy that people in Texas are getting their water and their lights back, and they've lived through a huge national disaster. Whether you want to make fun of it or not, there were people who were seriously affected. But, you know, Texans, y'all want to laugh at the rest of the country and the rest of the world. So I hope this humbles y'all in just a little bit, so y'all talk with a little bit of compassion in your voice next time that somebody is dealing with a natural disaster. Anyway, but that's all I got for today. Tonight, I will be participating in a storytelling event sponsored by The Moth. And so I'm going to put if you look on my Facebook page, you'll find it. But I'm going to put the link in the chat little bit later on. It's at 7 o'clock. I will be talking about being a Trini. I will be talking about my journey. So sign in. Mom, in case you were wondering, I already registered you. You're good to go. Check your email. That's what you have to do with parents these days. Hi, Mom. How you doing? But yeah, you got to do everything and just make sure that, you know, it just goes to their email. So for those of you who are raising parents, make sure that you do stuff like that. Hi, Mom. Good to see you. I hope you didn't hear that last part. Anyway, so I will be on that tonight at 7 o'clock. On Saturday, there is the Delta Sigma Theta chapter, the alumni chapter here in Brooklyn, is doing a talent show, and I'm in that as well, so you can check that out. And as always, please go to my YouTube page, follow and subscribe, so that I can finally get past 100. It's a damn shame that I can't get past 100 subscribers, but finally get past 100, and I can rename the YouTube page so that I can stop saying I'll send you the link, or Google my name and stuff like that. Yeah. You see, look at what my mom just posted. Look. You see, I can't even look over here at what my mom just posted in the comments. I hope you told that you are British. Shade. I actually do talk about that. That's part of the whole story about my journey, right? So you don't have to sign on and find out exactly what I'm talking about. But that shade right there, oh, God. And y'all wonder where I get it from? I get it from my mama. I get it from my mama. Anyway, check in for all the things that I'm doing. We are also doing a podcast. I'm doing a podcast with my kid these days. It's called Tasting with H&H, where I cook food and she tastes the food and she tells me whether she likes it or she doesn't like it. So far, she's liked everything that I've cooked for her so far. But I got some stuff up my finger, up my sleeves and at my fingertips, and hopefully we'll have her trying some new things. So that podcast is that's coming up, and that the first three are up, and the last one is gonna drop on Sunday. We drop them on Sundays, so check that out. Go to my YouTube page, subscribe, hook a brother up, so I can just say go to my YouTube page, which is youtube.com/Hayden M Greene. But in the meantime, Google or search Hayden M Greene. Don't just do Hayden Greene. You'll get a weird kid from the Midwest who's a soccer star and only post pictures of him with his shirt off. Ugh. Ugh. Anyway, it's time for me to get out of here. It has been great. I always enjoy hanging out with you guys. And we will see you again next week. This has been the Greene House Effect. And so even though it's cold outside, I want you to get out there and be warm to somebody else. Love you all. See you next week.